Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Australian Ecrit powered by KISS. As always, my name is Jesper Anker, and today I'm joined by Jeff Daniels and Jim Carey. Actually, no, that is Wesley Salzberger and Pat Shaw on the other line. How you guys doing?
Yeah, we're good, thanks, Jasper.
So we've
All
got
good,
Pat
man.
Shaw with us tonight. Pat, what are you doing here?
Well, Wes has hijacked me for tonight, and hopefully in the coming weeks I'll be joining him probably more and more for the Ecrit series. Not racing it this year though.
So you raced it last year, and you made it all the way to the finals. Did you enjoy taking part last year in the series?
Not so much in the final, no. It was absolutely the hands down the hardest event of my life. There's no doubt. It was super hot, big crowd. It was a great atmosphere. Enjoyed the night, but more than happy to be as per the normal now, watching from the sideline.
I remember you being pretty upset when you didn't win last year at Rafa.
No, I don't think I was upset, actually. I don't think so. I know what I was. I was absolutely rotten dead.
What do you think, Wes?
I think he was a little disappointed, but at the same time, he did get into the Gauge Roads refreshments on offer after that.
So
I
what's been,
also got involved in a pretty big Wolfpack Tasmania
Oh,
baguette.
yeah.
Oh, God, not a sandwich. They were everywhere. They
Yeah.
were like cookies
Yeah.
in the cookie jar, and I was a jelly bean. I wasn't wanted.
And Wendy Superfan when there was with the Wolfpack cap on as well.
Oh, that just hurt the worst.
So you're saying that was the deciding factor of last year's Ecrit, the fact that they just had so many riders and endless support?
No, because Anthony Ciano, he was really strong too. But no, it was a good final. I thought it was an awesome final. Set the tone for what could be an amazing Ecrit final again this year. But who will make it, we still don't know.
No.
Well, we haven't even started the series yet. So what you're watching today is the preseason for the Ecrit series powered by KISS Down Under. We've done, I believe, 4 so far with Wes and me, and today we're joined by Pat Shaw, just remind everyone again, Pat, what have you actually won outside on 2 wheels?
Basketball against my son on Sundays, and
On 2 wheels?
and this one time I beat Caleb Ewan in a bakery.
Is there footage of this? Is there actually evidence?
Oh yeah, there's. Oh, we can show you evidence. You know, anytime you like, go check out Cycling Maven. He's a good friend of yours, Jesper.
Mm-hmm.
And there's footage of the bakery down there in Port Arlington.
All I remember is Pete Kenyuk. That's just my Pat Shaw memory that comes into mind. But yeah,
That's a favourite of a lot of people.
it is because you. Anyway, Pat, you are an awesome guy, and it's great to have you here on the commentary desk. Wes and Pat, you guys have been teaming up down under, haven't you, for a few events around Australia?
Yeah, we rolled out across Melbourne and Brisbane. Pat was involved, and Carly Taylor joined us there as well. So it's great having Pat involved. He's got a great knowledge of cycling, and certainly knows how to spin some yarns and get the best out of people in the atmosphere. That's for sure.
So looking at the race, Pat, we have today, it's 6th lap of the London Classics course on Zwift. All the Australians are going to come out to play. I've seen Jeffrey Keel on the start list already. I've seen Greg Watson. I've seen Nazis on the start list. We might see some more riders. But what's the strategy on the London course?
Well, everyone knows with any of the races on Zwift that the first 1 minute is real intense power, anaerobic probably. And then after that, it's about finding the right people to sit around. So in the group, I always like to sit near the Wolfpack guys. There's always a lot of them in the race. Or alternatively, if a guy like Ben Hill or Troy Herfoss, if they're also in the race, stick around them, because if gaps do open up, then they can work with you to catch those gaps. London's definitely my favourite course because for some reason you can really get a good gap on the flat. Where a lot of other courses it's very hard to get away on the flat parts. You need to get away solely on the more difficult terrain.
I do seem to remember you going for like a 1 kilometer attack to actually win one of the stages last year. Like, why?
Funnily enough, I was speaking to Troy Herfoss. He didn't do that Ecrit. That was only the second Ecrit I'd ever done. And I said, oh, so what's the tactic to win on this London course? And he said, oh, well, what you do is you go from the roundabout where you turn right into the final straight. He goes, it's about 500 metres to go. So 300 meters before that, I went, which was a kilometer instead of 800 meters, and yeah, I just opened up a big gap, and no one had tried that before, I don't think. So everyone was caught a bit off, which is, that's good. So you want to have some fresh and different tactics.
No one is actually, I want to say brave, but I think the correct term is stupid enough to try that. So yeah, all credit to you, Pat, for actually pulling that off. Wes, I see one of the biggest news for the E-Crit right now on the start list is that Linton Savatsky has actually joined a team on Zwift. He was unaffiliated. He didn't join Aussie Hump Day. He didn't join the WP Task Boys. He's joined Vision. So he's teamed up with Jeffrey Keel and Anthony Ciano. What do you think of that?
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, that's a strong point there, and I'm sure that the Zwift kid Anthony Ciano would have had a major play in that. He's certainly very switched on for his racing in Zwift, and has a great knowledge and knows what to do at the right moment. So I reckon that's going to be playing to a good amount of strengths there for Ciano, because he's not usually one for a sprint, although he did manage to have an awesome sprint in the final of the actual live event. And run second. But that was an uphill finish in the volcano circuit. But on a flat terrain sort of circuit, it's perfect for Linton. So that's where they can share it around a little bit and use their numbers there.
How about over on the Facebook broadcast right now, Wes? Who do we have joining us in? Do we have any comments in the stream or whatsoever? Anyone asking questions that we should be attending to? Because I do know last week I called out Wendy Superfan, because my lifetime goal is to get on her little poster outside her house. And truth be told, she actually got in touch and was like, Jesper, can you send a picture? I would like to do it. So
actually now we're mentioning Linton as well. He's just saying, let's keep it together tonight, Keith. So Linton's already putting out there that he wants a nice bunch sprint. Nadsy, I'm sure, will be not wanting a sprint. He will be one that will most likely be trying to bust it up and attacking a number amount of times. Usually we see Nadsy go, like, after he attacks himself most of the time. But that works to Nadsy's tactic, and certainly usually plays out for the Wolfpack crew. He's one of the main sort of super domestiques.
So looking at the start list with 10 seconds to go, we've got Keith Leonard, strong rider. We've got Anthony Ciano on the start list. We have Cameron Roberts, Linton Savatsky, M. Poley, Jeffrey Keel, and several other strong... What is that?
And is that the start gun, Joe?
I'm not sure what that actually was. Was that? So I'm actually in the Zwift office right now, and I don't know what that was. So I'm getting a little shrug from the personnel here in the office. I don't know if that was me who caused that, but it could also have been perfectly timed with this. Actually, I think that might have been a Zwift cause sound effect, guys. What do you think of that? Oh.
These cowbells, but it looks like we've got Zwift Kid up the front there. Sam McCullen as well is in there tonight. So Sammy has been a little bit off the bike for a while now, so he's getting back into his race again. So good to see Sammy join in. His first Zwift race as well, and ride, I'm pretty sure. So
Marcus Curley in there as well. So he does a bit of racing in Asia. And he was up there last week in the E-Crit, although I was out the back. I did see the results. And Cam Roberts, he's super strong too. But as you were talking about Nadsy earlier, loves to throw down attacks. Always found that the guys like Ciano, they could really sprint well if there was attacks, even if a big group come to the finish, but it had been constant attacks.
Yeah, hard racing.
Yeah, it tires you out so much more than in real life cycling. So when you're indoors, you're driving it, your heat builds up, so your core temperature's higher, and that's where you see it. But just coasting along at the moment, 280 watts. That's pretty easy going for these guys. A lot of Ballarat people in there as well. Jamie Folks, I can see him in there. So shout out to the Ballarat crew.
Looks like, and Polly's back in there tonight as well. Polly had a break last week. Polly needed a cracker, and he's back this week. So it looks like we've got a good number of people there. We see Ciano now. He's across. He looks like he's seeing a nice amount of watts there, and 90 cadence and heart rate, plenty to wiggle with. Nadsy's looking good there too. So Nadsy, do we have Dunn as well in there? I didn't see Dunn's name pop up.
Not taken on the start list today.
No.
He's on childcare duties tonight.
So we've got Bertie though in there from Wolfpack Taz as well representing. So a couple in there from the Wolfpack crew.
He's racing in the B category, Wes. Bertie.
Yes, Bertie is racing the B category. So Bertie was racing in the A last year. I think he was racing in the A most of the time, but he's in the B this time. But Birdie looks like he'll be able to stay in there and help out in a supporting role, or maybe even sneak off the front here if they don't keep increasing this pace.
So Pat, when you come up to this first incline, Pat, what goes through your mind? Because you know this course, you've got to come down embankment, which is where they are right now, and you turn right. That first little bump, what do you do?
I don't really do much this part of the race. I always wait for this is sort of what you see on your screen as the sort of like the warming up of the race. So I never really do too much, but I always like to get myself in good position for this rise to feel the how the legs are feeling already. We can already see a good attack here. Looks like Nadsy going off the front. Nadsy's having a crack already, which is really good to see early on. This will really force the pressure on. That hill's very hard early in the race, but it just gives you an idea. I try to stay seated and see how far I drift back just to get a feel of how everyone's going. But yeah, Nadsy on fire.
It's tough to break away, though. Like I really encourage the fact that Nadsy's trying to break away 3 kilometers into the race, but without help from like the Cameron Roberts and the Jeff Keels. Like, Wes, could he actually stay away, Adrian Adams?
Nadsy has been doing a fair bit of training on the grapevine back in Tassie, so he's certainly got the legs to be able to stay away. Obviously, it'd be a lot easier though if you had someone else there with him sharing the load.
Maybe he's been Froome inspired.
He might have gone he's gone a long range tack. I mean, we're not 80 k's out, but we're still at least 38k in. So I think Nadsy's just soften up the legs, see who wants to have a bit of a play around tonight. I'm sure if Pat was in there racing, Pat would be probably out there having in amongst it as well, having a crack with Nadsy.
But instead, he's sitting next to you in the house of the great GP Lama. We do see on course an under 19 rider, Lem Bruggen, in the Aussie Hump Day kit. You'd assume if he's under 19 that his weight would be low, around the 50s, 60s almost. Does that give you sort of an advantage on Zwift, Pat, like being younger and being fitter?
Fitness is the key, certainly, but also power is a really key attribute. So last year when I was doing the eCrit series, I actually trained a little bit specific for it. So I would do a lot of attacks and then try and drop my wattage back to threshold and try and hold that for as long as I could in training. So the attacks are the big ones. So if you can throw in a big attack, big power initially on the attack, you'll find that you'll get a big gap, and then it's about holding that. So the harder your first acceleration is, the bigger the gap you get initially, and then you can build on that. Being younger, I'm not so sure. I think I've seen a couple of young riders I know. I've got them on the eCrit series just to learn a bit about how hard to ride, but they seem to still make mistakes just like young riders do in real life. So it is a good learning thing as well. But I urge anyone out there that really wants to test themselves to see if they're potentially National Road Series ready. This is a really good series to do it at, because although there's a lot of people in this group that won't race the National Road Series, the power and the power averages for the time period you race is just as hard, if not harder, than any National Road Series event.
What about something like race strategy, preserving energy, using power-ups at the right time? Does that transfer over to the National Road Series?
No power-ups in the National Road Series. The only power-ups are training. But what it does is it does make you think. I think that's a good thing about it as well. So that transfers to real life, is that, your power-up might be like remembering to have a gel or remembering to eat or those things. So they're really important aspects of bike racing in reality, is that, and well, for me, even in virtual, I always take a gel or two during the eCrit.
I just ate that Shane Miller's Carmen bar off his lab over there.
When we walked in, Wes could smell a Carmen's bar, so he's just like, I'll eat that. And that was without racing. It's just got to keep the energy levels up. But we can see a pretty decent move here. Mm-hmm. I think they got about 7 seconds already, and this is the type of move you want. The difficult thing I find in these situations is communication, because if you had a headset and could talk to each other, Wes, you could sort of say to each other, I'll do a long one first, then give me a bit of rest.
Yeah.
But often you get in these breakaways, particularly early, and it's difficult to make it work because one rider will be riding hard on the front, and then you think, oh, he's backed off, I'll go past him. And then they go again, and you start wearing two riders out where in the real world circumstance,
if
you probably elbow each other.
Yeah, if you're passing each other, you can sort of make it a sense that that you're taking the lead on the front, where you can use a little bit of overlap, like you said, and you actually burn both your legs out a little bit instead of working together. But these riders look like they've got the hang of swapping off here together, so they're taking turns pretty comfortably. We see Roberts up there again, who's went away last time and just sealed the race up with Leonard as well. So these riders here aren't riders that you usually let go. So this is where Nadsy or Watson or whoever's back there in the pack has to have a little bit of a think about it. We've got Sam McCallan up there as well. So whether Sam, you want to launch across?
And Glasner, the South Australian, I think he is. He's from Team Lights View. He's having a crack on the front too. Zwift kid getting involved. But Roberts is a really interesting rider because he's such a threat on any Zwift race and any circuit. But he also does transfer a fair amount of that to National Road Series as well, which is really cool because you want to see guys that can race in reality as well as on the virtual racing, because it also adds credibility, I think. So Robert's very strong for his National Road Series team, GPM Stalls. And so good to see him ripping it into it again tonight, because that's what people want that race the eCrit Series that potentially don't race the National Road Series. They want the National Road Series or more experienced riders to really race hard and then stick on and then potentially beat them, which often they do.
The main difference today, though, from this breakaway is that we've got a bigger and stronger peloton, because last week we saw Roberts and Leonard attack away with a third rider who actually let go because the pace was so high. Today, with Vision having 3 riders, with Nancy being here for the WP Task guys, Ossie Humpty's got a few riders, it's going to be tough to stick, because last week, I think Roberts and Leonard won by like almost 30 seconds. Do you think that could happen today as well, guys?
Well, we don't see as many probably riders taking the start line this week. So, and the riders that are in here, we do have a couple from WP Taz here as well. But I see this going to be whittling down. It's going to be a break of, I'm guessing probably 5 to 6 riders, because we've got a few other stronger guys in here this week, with Polly in there also as well, and Nadsy racing. So I can't see it busting up for everyone's too active, I think, this week. And the terms of who's racing, I think it's going to sort of play against each other, and it'll be a small select group.
It will depend, because last week it was really quite constant too, the power and the difficulty of the race. It seems to be going on a very similar pattern here, but it really depends on whether they can keep it going, because if the 3 out in front come back and no one else really wants to push the pressure because they're already tired, that might stall it for a little bit.
Yeah.
And you find that you can recover really quite quickly once the pace drops off if you're in a good position, particularly getting a draft.
So it is all back together now, actually, guys. They have been caught.
Grupo Compacto. Yep.
Yeah, as Carlton Kirby would say, Grupo Compacto.
Yeah, there's no bonifications on the line today either, guys. So all is good. Pat, if you had to, 8 kilometers in, I know it's early to put you on the spot, but having raced all these racers and seeing how the races unfolded so far, who would be your 2 riders to really look out for as the race unfolds?
Definitely Cam Roberts, because of his aggressive nature. But I would be trying to leverage myself off him, and I'll get to that in a moment. And the other rider that I'd probably watch tonight would probably be Polly or Nadsy. Try and feed off them as well. So what I'd look for is maybe run the risk if it was, say, Nadsy or Polly that attacked, and then when they come back, counter that. But if Cam Roberts was to attack, or even Marcus Curley, who have got Asian experience as well, so they've raced in the Asian Tour and the UCI level, maybe try and follow them and then just see what the situation is. If I followed them and we had that 7-second gap that was last seen by the 3 out in front, I'd probably work really hard. But if I went with it and it looked like the group was already chasing, I'd probably just sit up and then wait for the group to catch and then throw down another attack. But it's just saying you got to constantly be having a look at, see whether people are forcing around to the front or whether they don't pass so much. When riders are passing each other quite a lot, you know that people are active and wanting to be at the front. When you get the pace slows down, so if we see it slow down a little bit now, we can see it regrouping, but people not pushing right to the front, they're probably tired.
And that's your moment. If you do have legs and you've been unfortunately shuffled back, this point now, after you get over the top of this climb, that's where you don't let off the power and have a rest. If you can move up that first bit and then have a rest, like then you're at the front of the bunch and you're not doing this a rubber band effect. So if you do get distance back, then it's a great time when those little lulls, you just work that little bit harder and then recover when you're at the front and hold your position because it is once you find yourself, especially if you're struggling, if you find yourself far back, then and you're at the back of the pack and the acceleration goes again, someone attacks, then that's when the rubber band will snap.
So we're coming to the finish of the first of 6 laps out on course. Wherever you're watching, whether that's Facebook, if you're watching over on Mixer, give it a reaction, give it some comments. Wesley Salzberg, all the way down under, is reading your comments. He'll feed them in. If you got any questions about what you're seeing, I mean, Pat, there might be somebody out there on Mixer or on Twitch, the alternative channels that we're also broadcasting to, that's never ever seen this before. Could you explain to the, I guess, would you call it the average Joe down under, or do you have a more Australian slang for this? But what is Zwift and how does it work?
Yeah, Joe Blow.
Aussie battler?
Yeah, Aussie battler. Having a crack. Put a shrimp on the barbie. No, what I'd say is that you've got so basically the technology part is a trainer. So many people know it's similar to a treadmill, but for a bicycle. And the bikes, these people are riding real bikes. They're attached to those trainers. From those trainers, there is either a Bluetooth or an AMP Plus signal that sends it to a computer. And this is effectively a game. It's a fitness game. This is a race, but a lot of people just do it for general fitness or to hang out together with their friends who may be 1 kilometre down the street, 1,000 kilometres away in the same country, or all the way across the globe, as we've seen Jesper and we've ridden together before. I've rode with Jack Haig just before the Giro and had a good chinwag with him messaging, because they also have a companion app so that you can text each other, you can give each other thumbs up. You can even flick the elbow and ask for a turn when the wind is just that little bit too strong. So it's really cool. It's something that's been really embraced by also the real life racing community, as we see a lot of them here tonight. But it's incredibly motivating also for a lot of just regular recreational riders.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're getting a few comments now across on Facebook as well. We see that Mark Padgett's joining the stream. So g'day, Mark, from down in Tassie. And we've got Danny as well from FE Sports. He said that Pat and Wes are a dynamic duo. So thanks.
Nothing about Jesper, though.
Nothing about you, Jesper. So, and we are getting a few other comments saying about the trainers, are they compatible with mountain bike? And I've replied to that comment from Miko. I just said that, yes, you can have your mountain bike hooked up to this as well. Obviously, the gearing is a factor in that, though, as well, because most of the mountain bike gearing isn't quite as large. So you may get spun off the back, but you can still get involved.
So while we're having that discussion, Cameron Roberts, again off the front, just trying to break it up. He's actually doing on the downhill section, that you can see over the top right corner, it's -1%. And I do assume he's on a smart trainer, so he'll feel that resistance as he's going to keep on trying to break this up. But is this going to succeed, Pat?
Well, no, it's not, because he's 180 beats per minute going downhill. Not the perfect plan. He's spinning at 115 revs per minute as well. So we can see all that information at the top left-hand side of your screen. So the white numbers, those big numbers, that's the watts that are being put out by the particular rider that we are watching. This is Creel from the Vision team. The RPM, revs per minute, and the beats per minute, the heart rate, well, that speaks for itself. Everyone knows when they see that heart that means the beats per minute. Different people, though, have different heart rate ranges. And you'll see when I race, I rarely get over that 175. I'm an asthmatic, so the heart rate just does not get up that high. But some people have extremely high heart rates. I've seen people in Zwift races before, 200 plus beats per minute.
That's just
and they're in the peloton and they're not even attacking. So maybe Cam Roberts has a high heart rate or a high threshold heart rate. But generally speaking, if he's pushing it that hard right now, he wants a really good fan in his setup because he's got to keep that core temperature down. That's a big one.
Yeah, I'm one of the guilty ones. My max heart rate is about 210. But that comes from being young. We saw the young Lembruggen earlier in the race when we pointed him out. He was doing that initial climb at 200 beats per minute, and I would not be surprised if he had another 10 or 20 to work with. My sister back in Denmark actually did a Zwift race, and I found out her heart rate goes to about 230. So everyone is different. Pat is obviously really old, so his only goes to about 150, but you can get on Zwift and try it out.
Oh, look what we've got here. We've got a delivery here from the llama. So
smells good.
Everyone here is burning pizza slices in Zwift. So they have to go somewhere.
They go somewhere. They can't just disappear into fat air.
So all of these pizza slices, I'm pretty sure, go straight to the Llama HQ. And look at that. We're all set up here. This is beautiful.
Yeah, just looks a little bit jealous, I think.
Very. But it's also about 10 o'clock in the morning here, guys.
There's never a bad time for pizza, Jesper. I lived in Italy for several years, as you did, Wes. There's never a bad time for pizza. There's only no time for bad pizza. So
the question is, what did you actually get?
Well, Wes, we want to talk through. This is a bit like Eurosport coverage for the Giro. So, Wes, what's your recipe today?
Jonathan Harris right there.
I lost my earphone.
Yeah. So, Wes, you look like you've got...
It looks like Cameron Roberts just burnt off a slice of pizza, so I'm just going to take that now and just finish that off for him.
Now, Wes, yours is a vegan pizza, so you're allowed 1.5 slices per effort for Cam Roberts tonight. I mean, you're going to have to eat about 8 pizzas the way he's going at the moment. 183 beats per minute. He continues to push quite hard on the pedals, 300 watts. We saw him hitting about 500 watts earlier. It does look like he's attacking, but I think for Cam Roberts, 500 watts, and it would be, it's a lot of power, but it'd be fair to say that he may not even be getting out of the seat yet on his indoor trainer. I know that what I like to do when I'm going to do an attack or potentially a launch for a long sprint, I like to go up the cadence just a little bit, build up the cadence, jam down the gears, and then sprint when I get to, say, 4th or 5th rider in the group. And that really gets you that big jump in watts per kilo, which then forces you off the front quite quick because people are looking on the right-hand side of our screens and they're sort of seeing
that orange.
They see the orange and they go, he's going to attack. But if you just coast up and then do it in a hit when you're right at the front, then you can really get a big gap early. It'd be interesting to see, Wes, I don't know whether you remember Luke Cridlin.
Oh, that one.
And Luke Cridlin, who Wes and I both raced against a fair while ago, he sort of stepped back from cycling for a while, but he's back into it and he's racing quite a lot in New South Wales. And I saw him in the group last week. I don't know if he's in the group again tonight, but he's one that if he sticks with the series, he could really be one to watch.
I do remember that name. I do remember racing against Luke. So, yeah, certainly a strong rider. And, yeah, it's great to see that people are, finding out about the eCrits, pre-season, and then they'll be set up ready. Of course, as well, if they're not familiar with the platform, there's a perfect time with this pre-season to get familiar. Make sure you understand the power-up situation because, as we mentioned earlier, Pat, that can have a huge, effect on the overall of this race. Without using your it's like going into a real life race without strategy there. Then obviously everything's against you. If you're super strong, you may still pull a result, but certainly tactics come into play here now. We'll see Roberts sort of stretching his legs again here now, just doing a little bit of a shake like Nadsy does there, of shake of the legs and see who wants to go. And now he's going to step on it now, Pat.
Yeah, he's I don't know what he's doing really at the moment. It's hard to tell. But speaking of the power-ups, is an interesting one. So you've got different power-ups and you can use them in different ways. Ultimately, every time you pass the finish line each lap to start the next lap, there'll be a power-up that comes up the top into just in between the blue screen, right, the top left-hand corner, and the white screen across the top. And that power up, depending on how you use it, can change the result of your race significantly. If your aero power up, we all know if we've raced a race on Zwift, the aero power up is the one you want for the finish. But also, the night that I won that you spoke about attacking at a K to go, Jesper, I used an aero power up that night at a K to go rather than saving it for the sprint so that I could get a really big gap, which hopefully would stop people from chasing. They still chase, but it worked. But if you get a drafting boost, you could go long for someone, maybe help a teammate. There's all sorts of different ways that you can use the power-ups, but the power-ups are definitely the key to success.
Did you pre-select your power-up? Like, did you, when you were doing your warm-up, were you crossing the line, seeing what power-up you got? If you got one you liked, you kept it. If not, you restarted Zwift. What did you do to get the right power-up?
Yes, that's what a few of the competitors realised that, but I don't think Pat did.
Nah, I knew you could do it, but I mean, you get 5 or 6 opportunities to get
Most people get experience
power-up.
power-ups all 6 times. I'm one of them.
Well, you get great at power-up every lap.
Yeah, but you get a power-up, but there's also the dreaded experience, the big plus you see on the screen. If you get that
Yeah.
That's not that dreaded when you want to crack open a set of envies or something like that. Like you can get to unlock different parts of the game with that. So you're getting something out of Jasper.
The worst one, Jasper, for me is one e-crit that I did. I passed the line 6 times and I only got 1 power up. 5 times it was empty. 1 was the feather light. Just the feather light. It's almost like getting rained on out training on a blue sky day. It's the biggest letdown in an e-crit because the featherweight, you're just not doing anything with the featherweight.
Do you remember for the preems in the actual finale last year in the e-crit, I believe Luke Ockerby had 3 or 4 aero power-ups in a row? Like, he should have played lottery ticket that day.
Yeah, all I know is that he was putting the hurt on something cruel. But I also remember the massive, so there was a volcano, but there was also a crater as well. He created in the course when he finally blew up. He left the biggest hole in the course. So there's now a really big, good downhill, then uphill section in the volcano e-crit course.
Credit to you, that was a good one. So we're just over halfway in the race. We got 16 kilometers to go. That's 3.5 a lap out on course. No one has really been able to break away out on course. And I think the guy that everyone is quite fearing right now is Linton Savatsky. He's got teammates out there. He's got Anthony Ciano and Jeffrey Keel shutting down every break. How do you beat Linton Savatsky, guys?
Going long. You have to go long. I think that was the thing that I wanted to prove with this series last year. That was that it still is about unpredictability. So in World Tour races, we've seen riders that attack at 2K or 1K to go. They would never have won in any other circumstances. Bora is renowned for it as a team. And so that's why I started doing it last year. And I think if someone here maybe tried and moved 750 meters to go tonight, I think they can take the cake because it'll force Linton to either go out on his own accord or wait for someone else to go, and it may all just be too late.
Yeah, and we don't have the team dominance there of someone domestic to chase that really. I mean, if we had maybe, likes of Dunn in here and Nadsy could try and take that back and do a bit of a shake and bake, but in terms of teams here, I mean, you've got Zwift Kid there helping Linton as well. So if someone did go early, then as Zwift Kid, Anthony Ciano could do the work there and take on the chase down of that. But like I said, Pat, it would be pretty open. Looks like we see Leonard going now. That's a huge move.
Yeah, it might even be Cam Roberts again up the front.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah, it looks like Cam Roberts
off the front.
Yeah, he loves that black aero helmet. I race in the no helmet. Not really advised for outdoor racing, but he's really getting into it now. This is a serious attack.
Yeah.
And this is where you saw him soften up the group earlier. Now he's gone for the serious attack. He wants to find out who's got the legs back in the group, and he's definitely a level above tonight. You mentioned Ciano, Zwift Kid, and Zawatsky. Like, what will they do? This is the prelude to the series. So do they just run solo tonight? Are they trying to work out what ways they can get the best out of each other by being teammates in the series? And also, is that what Cam Roberts is doing? He's using this as training, which you can also do. Of course, he wants to get a good result because he get bragging rights for the week, but he might be just trying to test out what works and what doesn't at the moment with these new riders that have come to the series this year.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like you're getting a bit hunger flat there too, Pat, by the sounds of it. So you better crack into your pizza there, mate. But yeah, that's a good point there as well. Like these riders are using this for a workout. We see the aero power up being popped there now, so the strongest one. So he's committed to this break now. Popping that shows that he's not safeguarding anything. He's going all out.
But he's alone off the front. What he really needs is somebody to bridge from the peloton and come up here and help him. He did average 5 watts per kilo last week with Keith Leonard, but 16 seconds to the peloton, all alone with 3 laps to go. It's going to be difficult for Cameron Roberts. We do know he's got the power, but just the laws of physics. We'll see the group probably go faster than Cameron out here. But back in the peloton, it's being controlled by Greg Watson and the Vision guys. He's got 20 seconds now with 3 laps to go. What goes through your mind at this point, Pat, when you are all alone off the front?
Well, first off, you're looking at them and look who is in that group and where is the next separation out of that 20-second group. So how many people are in that 20-second group and how's it going? I think he has absolutely ripped this bunch to pieces in the sense that they don't seem to be all really close together here. 20 seconds, who's the next riders along? You've got Marcus Curley there, Nadsy still up there. It's going to take guys like Nadsy to really lay it on the line with that bigger body to put out that massive power to really put a dent in it, because 20 seconds, if we put it into perspective, let's say Roberts comes back to 300 watts, which he can hold quite comfortably out in front. That means this group, someone from this group would need to hold around 450 watts for nearly probably 3/4 of a lap to catch him in one lap. So what would be the tactic I would use if I was a rider like Zwift Kid back in the group? I would just hope that he doesn't drag out too much time from now until the next time where Roberts attacked last lap on the rise. And that is where I'd be just going absolutely full gas to get across to him. And then I would spend a lap just trying to hang on and survive with him. And then it'll be mano-y-mano. Who can get the job done?
Surely Cameron can't sustain these watts. He's sitting at 6.8 watts per kilo right now as he's actually off the front out there. So we're having some, he's going pretty fast. I don't know what happened there. The camera guys might be over in Spain with the motorbikes. Anyway, he's back on screen now, 22 seconds off the front. Not sure what's happening out on Zwift. We might have to check our motorbike. Sorry?
Yeah, there's 2 things to think about for Cam Roberts at the moment. So he's obviously got in his mind that he's getting bang for buck, or at least some reward for his effort right now, which would definitely be making him continue to ride as hard as possible. But he's also thinking, well, I'm not going to be able to hold this for too long, but if I can hold it for 10 minutes, get that gap out to 40 seconds or so, bring it back down to 320, 330 watts, anyone that does catch me, they're going to be finished anyways. So then I can probably beat him in a sprint as well.
20 seconds now. You would assume next time you come around to the Trafalgar Square climb that it would almost come back together, because Cameron will have to accelerate on his own. There's no draft effect. He can sustain watts for days in the flat, but as soon as it goes uphill, that group behind Cameron should really just accelerate into it and catch at least 10 seconds. And that's when you set, Pat. Somebody should try to bridge across, because if you can hang on to Cameron, he will drag you to the finish line.
But if he gets to go on the ascent there up to Trafalgar and just really coast almost, so he'd still have to be putting 380 to 420 out, but he rides at an even rhythm. When he gets over the top, if he maintains something like 350 and they're still not on him, that is the hardest part of this course for mine. It's after the hill where everyone throws down the towel. They're going full gas up the ascent. Short and sweet. Probably wouldn't do much damage in real life, but it really hurts you in these e-crits when you've been at such a high intensity the whole time. But in the group, we can see some riders there. There's lower heart rate as even 140 beats per minute. So some fresh legs still there that could possibly attack across. But this gap, this is a really big ride.
It is. There is now about 10 kilometers left of racing, 30 seconds to a man out in front, Cameron Roberts of GPM Stools. It's going to be exciting to see how this one pans out. If you haven't already, make sure to click a reaction button on the live stream. Let us know your comments down below. So we're quickly just going to reset our cameraman out on course because it looks like there might be some dodgy weather connections out there, just like you see sometimes in the Basque Country. Sometimes it also happens in London. In the meanwhile, Wes, what's happening over on our Facebook?
On our Facebook page, so we've got Tim Gudswell joining in. So Tim, I rode with in FDJ in Francis Jour. So great to see Tim joining in, seeing what's going on.
Peter Pang.
Peter Pang as well.
We both know him from our Saddlers days.
Yeah, from Saddlers, Peter Pang. So great to see Peter joining in. And we've got a message across from Ben Hill as well, saying that he's pretty ropeable at the moment. He missed the start. And he sent me a message on Messenger here saying he's missed the start. And that, he's pretty gutted.
He said he was a bit slow getting his setup.
He said his setup wasn't quite on par, and I think it looks like he's sent me a photo of his setup. It looks like he's got the HDMI cables hooked up to the TV.
I know what it was, Wes.
Yep.
I don't know if you know Ben Hill's setup really well, as in his bike setup, but he loves to have he has his hoods actually tilted in like
tilted
that.
in, yeah.
So I reckon what's happened is he's gone to a race and mechanics do it to him all the time. It's hilarious. So
they
straighten him because they think they've been bent in transit. And then he gets on it and he's like, oh, you've done it again. So I reckon it's been a gag by his mates. They've just straightened him out. Oh, Ben, we fixed your levers. And then he's gone to ride. He cannot ride with them straight. It does his head in Southern Cross. So I always have had that bit of a laugh with Ben Hill. Yeah. But there's more and more riders doing that.
Yeah.
And particularly his style of rider. He loves to get down there and ride hard.
You do see that more frequently now, yeah. But yeah, going back across now here, we see Ciano, the Zwift kid, out here now, and Leonard has done a flyer. We've missed that now, Jasper. The moto's back on course, and looks like we've got a few here trying to take up to close that gap.
12 seconds, though, still. That's a big gap.
Yeah. Will that drag the bunch there, though? That's the only thing. The old rubber band elastic effect. The bunch will then get dragged up, and then obviously that gap comes down, and then that could be some fresh legs there. Maybe a Nadzatron goes over the top. That's what I'd like to see.
Well, you might like to see it. I can't see it happening because they're going to be full gas back there just trying to hold on. Like we spoke, this is the toughest part of the course for me, is this return section here, because you've just done the ascent. If you're a little bit far back, you're talking about that elastic band, which I actually think the elastic band on virtual cycling is even worse than the elastic band in real life. It's sort of like, because when you're coming back, you still got to push all that power all the way through. There's no pull by the riders as you come through.
You'll regret it. I'm reading some of the comments now.
What, the attack?
Yeah, you'll regret that.
That's a good thing about a bit of banter that goes on. But I mean, whoever's riding that obviously is not going to regret it because they're going pretty easy.
Someone else said grab the wheel.
Yeah, well, Cam Roberts flying, but it's good to see some riders trying to make the junction. We can still see the riders we spoke about earlier. Marcus Curley was still in there, and he's one to watch. He does, I've said a few times, he does a lot of racing in Asia as well. And so that style of racing really prepares you well for this difficult type of event like an E-Crit.
So Cameron Roberts had 10 seconds at the top of that hill. No one was really able to bridge across. Ciano and Leonard tried. They brought it down to 7 seconds. They were then caught by the peloton, and we've now seen the gap go back out to 25 seconds. So with that in mind,
25. Yeah.
What do you do now with 2 laps to go? This is the penultimate lap.
From the bunch, or Cam Roberts is pretty easy. He keeps riding like he is, probably wins by 15, 18 seconds. But if you're in the bunch, I think you've just got to say, well, I've probably got to open it up a bit now. And then once I see a gap coming down, hopefully that inspires others, I'll then sit in, try and drop the heart rate, try and get a little bit of lactic acid out of the body, and then go again. But saying that, a big sprint from 700, 800 meters out could close a 10, 12-second gap.
Yeah, definitely.
Several riders really haven't done that much today. I mean, Cameron Roberts has attacked off the front, but we usually see Keith Leonard right next to Cameron Roberts. We usually see a few of the WP Task boys up there attacking. The peloton today has been quite collective, and they've all been pretty much set on a sprint finish except for Cameron Roberts. So it'll be interesting to see how these last 8 kilometers, 6 kilometers of racing pan out now. Surely everyone that wants to contest for a finish have got that aero power up of choice ready to pop it. Where, like, if you don't go for a patented Pat Shaw ridiculous a kilometer to go attack, where do you actually use that aero power up, Pat?
Well, in the sprint, that's the only 2 places you could use it. You could maybe use it to ride on to Roberts on the ascent at about 2.5, 3 kilometers to go. But even in that circumstance, he's probably got a power up his sleeve as well. So he's got all bases covered. I think right now, though, Cam Roberts is starting to feel the pinch. We can see his power is more sporadic. It's going up and down, up and
He's
down.
Probably out of the seat there, trying to get out of the seat there and have a wiggle around and then sit back in and lock back into power, like in a time trial mode.
He's a bit like Tin Man out of the Wizard of Oz now. Everything's sort of not turning freely.
I had this experience a little bit last week, or on Sunday actually, in the pretzel. I did the TT mode, sort of same thing as what Roberts is doing here. Yeah. So I can feel his pain there at the moment, just like rehamping himself, getting out of the saddle, locking the hips in. Probably got his hands over the front of the hoods in that TT position. Probably hasn't got his hoods turned in as far as Ben Hill. But
starting to question his sanity a little bit. He's in a room on his own, torturing himself. It's not making a lot of sense, but he is winning, so he keeps doing it.
The best thing for the camera is he's looking over and seeing like 3 gel wrappers on the floor, thinking, "Do I go for another one? Do I need another one?" That's probably what's happening right now.
Well, the gap's not really coming down, and so that's a positive thing for him. But I think we'll probably have to wait until probably the 5 kilometers, which we're starting to sort of head into that part of the course. 5 kilometers to go on the course is when it really starts to, the riders that don't think they can win a sprint, they'll have a go and they can drag that peloton speed, the group speed right up. And that's when you're out in front, and we've all experienced this before, and you've seen positive numbers all day, so it just keeps going up by 1 second, 2 seconds. Then all of a sudden that starts to go back the other way. You start to crack in the head as well. So that hurts. So if they can cut back 4 or 5 seconds and then another 2, Cam Roberts may just crack.
Looking at the peloton, somebody has got to try and give it a go, because there's Linton Savatsky in this group. I don't see anyone on the start list today knowing that can actually beat Linton Savatsky in a straight-up sprint, and I assume that most of them have done their research. They've looked into it, as now B-Dog actually takes it up to 6 watts per kilo, 7 watts per kilo. They know Linton Savatsky is this strong, so they've got to try something either on the final climb into the finish line or maybe further out, because he's got the teammates, he's got the power, most likely he's got the power up. Yeah, it's going to be tough. So who's it going to be, Wes? We've heard from Pat, who his 2 riders to watch are. We haven't really heard from you, Wes, yet.
Well, I think for this sort of race, we have to go with a pure underdog. Polly hasn't been as active as he has been the last couple of in the last couple of laps. I saw him early on there get involved, but he's been just sort of sitting in. So I think Polly's going to be a dark horse there. He's been sort of safeguarding himself, and we did see his heart rate was reasonably low just before when you flicked across to him. And then as a second rider, I don't know. I can't say that Nadsy's probably on tonight, but I'm going to have to shout out for #wildcard for Nadsy. I have to give Nagsy a bit of a backup there, because it's good to see him join along and get involved. So Polly and Nadsy are my call.
Here we go. The penultimate time up the Trafalgar Square climb, Pat.
And as I've said that, Nadsy just sent me a message saying, "Yep, it's time to watch Cookta."
They've got him back to about 15 seconds. Was that right? I thought I saw Cam Roberts. So they are closing in, and this is where the mental side starts to turn on for Cam Roberts. Can he get there? Nothing worse than turning onto the pave, looking down that finish line, knowing it's 500 meters to go, and just seeing all these boosts. He just pumped his aero boost, I think, to try and get himself. He's buying time here, boys. I think Cam Roberts might have cooked the goose. It's time for dinner.
And with Nadsy out, I'm going to take this second call across to Greg Watson, Wes's Wheels, to take up that little bit of a hole now that Nadsy's out. But he's really having to hold this on there. He's dropping below nearly 300 watts there before. He's picking it back up again now. So he's really hurting now. Back up, he's trying to find something to hold on to there and lock in. So, he'd be right now. If we could see Cameron Roberts, you'd see him probably up out of the saddle. He'd be moving around, trying to get different position to try and take that lactic out of his legs. And I don't think he's going to be able to, but he's going to certainly try to hold on here.
Yeah, it looks like he probably will hold on, but I mean, the pain that he's going through right now is not good. He's dragged that gap back out, Jesper.
It's going to come down to whether or not he gets a fourth aero power up of the race, because that aero power really just gives him 5-6 seconds where he can just rest up for a tiny bit where the pace stays the same and then go again. If he doesn't get an aero power up, I think it's going to be close, because everyone at the back have been resting up. The pace has been at 4 watts per kilo. It hasn't been at the 4.6s that we've usually seen. So there should be riders with firepower, with actual energy to spare now. So we'll see as we go into the final lap. Pat and Wes, do you have a cowbell?
No.
But I tell you what, we have every other type of technology, bike or even sport related in this house.
I can't see any team. There's a knife here. I don't know where that come from. But
that's when he's really, really hurting, lactating. He'll stab himself on the trainer, Shane Miller.
Here we go.
And it draws the attention.
I've got a bell. It's not ideal,
this is
but
the final
a little bit dangerous. There's no OH and S here.
Somewhere.
Careful with that, Wes.
Super fan when he just did this to you, Wes.
Don't run with the scissors, Wes.
And we saw, was it Michael Upton as well? Give us a shout out. So he's Matthew Upton said his first time tuning into the stream. So g'day, Matt. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, Matt's a good rider. Actually, I'm pretty sure you'll see Matt in the West series.
Yeah.
He loves to get amongst it. He's a really, really smart rider too. He's been racing for a lot of years, so it's good to see a lot of those WA guys tuning in. Peter Pang also earlier we spoke about, whereas it's amazing. That's the thing that I love about Zwift, even the live events that we've done, the people that gather together, it's a real community. Like we see ex-professional cyclists turning up. You see first-time riders that have never even raced before turning up to the live events, but all having a laugh together, having some food and drinks, but also having a great time. And recently we're up in Brisbane. That was an incredible evening. 400-plus people came to the night at Green Beacon Brewery. And, I always come back from those live events and I just tell everyone how great they were, but we're not at a live event here tonight. We're at a live race.
We're at a live race here, and Cameron Roberts is not saying surrender at all here. He's holding. He's gone back up as well around that 340 mark. He's dropped down now again to 300, but he's fluctuating there, but he's truly trying to hold on to it there now. Like I said, he'd be changing different positions, trying to get rid of some of that lactic. He'd certainly be pouring through the drink bottles right now. I reckon he'd probably have his hand up ready for someone else to service and change fresh bottles, nice ice cold bottles. So we see the rider B-Dog back at the front here now again. So B-Dog's been very active in these last few laps. He's getting probably a little bit frustrated by the looks of it here and wants to drive the pace. And he did do a little bit of an attack there earlier as well. So, and we see, Camo Hawks there as well?
Yes.
And was Kings of Citizens in there as well?
Well, this is Mr. Russ Crowder of Jersey. He's not Australian, but I think what he's doing right now is he is setting the pace in the front just to see it come back together. Russ Crowder is an experienced racer on Zwift, not Australian, but what he's going to do now is going to be mano a mano. Can Russ Crowder catch back Cameron Roberts for the peloton to try and race? It's 20 seconds now with 2 kilometers to go. We're looking at the likes of Leonard, Nazi, someone to try and up the pace, the Keels, the Anthony Cianos, because 20 seconds, Pat, this is not really going to come back if it's still 20 seconds.
No, if around
14,
12,
15, I reckon.
12, around 12 or 14, you could think about coming back. But with this 20 seconds, I can't see it coming back now, unless someone does an absolute, astonishing performance, which I can't see anyone else closing that gap now because that's way too big.
Well, the only thing to keep in mind is they can get it back to around that 50. It's already coming down again, 18. Oh, no, it's 22 again. But if they can get it back to that 16, 15 seconds, the difference is that Cam Roberts hasn't been working with anyone at any point. He's been on his own. So he's not going to put out an 800 watt or a 600 watt acceleration to the finish line. they back in the group could put out 1,200, 1,100, 1,000 watts. That's going to gain 2-3 seconds almost instantly on him. So it's still race on at this point. It's not just us trying to make it interesting for everyone, but it really is. And we can see that more and more riders that don't think they've got a chance in a sprint are starting to dive in and give it a bit.
Yeah.
Polly does want to crack it.
The whole Polly waffle here is off the front. So it looks like he's just did a sort of a slow, sneaky attack there, slowly wound the watts up. And then now we've made the call out. He's actually tried to see if he can get a bit of a gap here now, but doesn't look like it's opening up too much here. And he really needs to hit sort of around that over 600 mark to get a bit of a gap on them there, because they're still in that draft of that 4 meter zone. So that's going to make it tough for him, but he looks like he's still going to carry it. He's lifted it back up now after I've called him out on that. He doesn't have the correct aero power up there either. He's got the draft, but it looks like he's going to try his all out here. And this is going to be very difficult for him to stay away here, but it's going to start the fireworks. So hopefully this will start the fireworks for my next man after this, Greg Watson.
Yes.
1.8 kilometers to go, guys. The gap was down to 14 seconds at the top here. Somebody's going to have to try and bridge right now. This is all or nothing. If you got a featherweight, now is the time to boost it. Let's see. Greg Watson on the front. We've got Folks next to him. We got B-Dog. Oh, they can see on the map top right. You can see where Cameron Roberts is. You can see the blip. He's just turning into the roundabout. This is going to come down to the wire, Pat.
I think he's going to get beaten. I don't know who by. It might be someone we least expect, but
B-Dog.
He's not. Yeah, it might be B-Dog. It might be the big dog. He'll need to push the big dog. But there's still a lot of riders there. Groot's there. Yep. He's been funneling around all night. He hasn't really done much. Who is Groot? Well, we might find out in just a moment's time. It's about 2 Ks to go at this point, 1.8 kilometers to go. I don't think the gap is big enough at this point, because the big sprint that they're going to do from the group will make the difference. And I don't think that Cam Roberts is going to have much left in the tank. 188 beats per minute. We've seen that gradually moving up. But although these riders' heart rates are high, they haven't been here very long. Zawadzki starts to show his face, the little pocket rocket.
Zawadzki looks like he's moving up there now. Watson also on his wheel by the looks of it too. So we see these riders go around this last turn. They'll come under the finish K, go to banner very shortly. And we are going to see a come down to the wire here, I think, Jasper.
There's the La Flamme Rouge, the final kilometer. We've got 12 seconds between Cameron Roberts and the chasing peloton. I mean, I think there was a bit of an alliance created in the peloton. No one wanted to see Cameron Roberts take like the 4th consecutive win. So they're like, I'd rather have someone from the peloton take it. But as I'm a tiny bit under the weather, and Pat Shaw is a great commentator down under, why don't you take this one away, Pat? Your inaugural live stream here on Zwift. Go ahead, mate.
Oh, what a pleasure. But Cam Roberts, I think he's going to get caught right on the line, so we're going to have to watch it right down to the line. It is Zawadzki that's really found himself towards the front. The Ballarat rider, Jamie Folks, is up there. He's in the Rafa kit. He's the only guy in the peloton with the Rafa kit. Not noted for his sprint, but maybe with a little bit of energy left, he could do something. So right out in front, still going to be Roberts. But look at that power. He has got nothing left. He's trying to push. He's watching the video live. He knows we're cheering him on. But look at him coming now. 7 seconds from Sargent. Richards, look at those orange numbers popping up for Richards, Zawadzki, Creel. Zawadzki's still in the slipstream. They're going to run out of time, are they? They're coming. Zawadzki, he's going to get him. He's going to get him, is he? No. Just misses. So 2 seconds on the line. We did say it's going to make a big difference, but they're 20 metres too short for Linton Zawadzki. Well, Cam Roberts, he deserves that. 196 beats per minute. I've never seen those numbers in my life.
196. I'm sure that's going to be up there with his max heart rate. So, and to be able to sprint at the end there, we saw him hit up over 600 watts after being away for, what was it, 3 laps? He went solid.
I think it was 3.5.
3.5 laps. So 5 laps. So.
Oh, yeah, but the first 2 he had, like, people even, spurring him on.
Yeah.
The last 3.5 was completely antisocial behaviour on his part, though. He doesn't even like to talk to anyone.
No, that was a great finish there. And who was it that picked up 3rd place there? We were so involved in that we didn't even quite cover that with 3rd.
Complete tunnel vision on whether or not Cameron Roberts was going to get caught. I think that one is to be decided by Zwift Power, which is currently down, unfortunately, due to some, some reconstruction within the Zwift and everything going on. But rewatch the gameplay, rewatch the footage, and we'll find out later. Wes and Pat, it has been an absolute pleasure. This was a lot of fun, guys. Thank you for being awesome. How far did you get with your pizza, by the way? Let's get an update on that.
Over half a slice.
I've got 2 slices left here, so yeah, it looks like we'll be able to finish that off after the stream. And a lot of congratulations going on Facebook there as well to Cameron. Great ride. And we've got Llama upstairs saying great ride, Cam. And Cameron Robs actually said, yeah, who's going to stop me? Kanye West. So good sign off there by Cam. Thanks for having us on, Jesper. It's been great. And tune in next week, 7 p.m. For the preseason eCrit.